Dumela. Today I will be doing ratios and I will start by explaining what a ratio is. A ratio is a quantitative relation between two or more amounts showing the number of times one value contains or is contained within the other. A ratio can be written in words column form or fraction form. In words, we can write it as 1 to 10. Column form, you can write it as 1 to 10, the column in between. And in a fraction form, you can write it as 1 divided by 10. When we are asking you to write a ratio in simplest form, all we are asking you is to write it as the smallest possible number you can calculate. Now, many ratios can be written with smaller numbers, and that is called writing the ratio in simplest form. So it is called writing ratios in their simplest form, as I have said. Let's write 54 is to 72 in simplest form. So basically, this is the same as 54 divided by 72, okay? But obviously, in this case, it can't be like that. When we write this, it will be 54 divided by the sum of the two, because 54 is just part of the whole. So we say 54 is the first part, and we say 72 is the second part. How do we write a solution for this? We need to find the highest common factor between 54 and 72, and then we are going to divide each part by the highest common factor. Now, a lot of people don't get it here because already they forgot what we did earlier on. Please check out my previous videos where I was teaching how to calculate the highest common factor and the lowest common factor, because I'm going to do it once here, but when we continue, I will just divide by the highest common factor, but you need to know the steps that I took to calculate that highest common factor. You first prime factorize 54, and that's what you will get. It'll be 2 times 3 cubed. Prime factorize 72. It'll be 2 cubed times 3. You realize that between the two products, which is 54 and 72, the only factor that is common there, well, 2 is common between the two, but only the 2 with the lowest exponent will be part of the highest common factor. And you also realize that between 54 and 72, 3 is a common base, but you normally take the base with the lowest common factor. So even though 3 is common, but we will simply take 3 squared, which is a factor of 72. So my highest common factor will be 2 times 3 squared, and that is 18. Now, I know in the previous video, I just divided by 18. I told you what the highest common factor is, but this is how you calculate the common factor. And that is because people said they don't understand how I calculated the common factor. Please check out the previous videos where I indicated how we calculate the common factor. Now, I'm going to take the first part, which is 54, divided by 18, take the second part, which is 72, and divide it by 18. And in this case, let's check how much I'm going to get. 54 divided by 18 will give me 3, and 72 divided by 18 will simply give me 4. So in a simplified form, this ratio will be written as 3 is to 4. Now the length, this is another example where I said the length of Mrs. Chirawi's class is 60 meters. Please note that that is meters. It's a different unit, so it's a unit in meters. And the width is 1,200 centimeters. So the unit there is centimeters. We need to determine the ratio. We can't compare the two because they have different units. Okay, and then they said determine the ratio of the length to width in simplest form. I can't do that because the length is in meters and the width is in centimeters. So I need to change one of the two. It's either I change 60 meters to centimeters, or I change that 1,200 centimeters to meters. But if I was to change that 1,200 to meters, it'll simply be 12 meters. So if I was to compare the two, it'll be 60 meters is to 12 meters. Okay, but in this case, I did not change centimeters to meters. Instead, I changed meters to centimeters. I cannot compare the two because one is in meters and the other one is in centimeters. I first need to make sure that the units are the same. So I need to compare meters with meters, or I must compare centimeters with centimeters. I decided to convert meters to centimeters. So I know that 1 meter is equals to 100 centimeters. So if I have 10 meters, it will be equals to 1,000 centimeters. Therefore, 60 meters will be equal to 6,000 centimeters. So whatever meters are, you just multiply them by 100 to get centimeters. That's why I took the 60 meters. When you multiply that by 100, it'll give you 6,000 centimeters, meaning that it will be 6,000 centimeters is to 1,200 centimeters. Then I simply prime factorize 1,200, and that's what I got when I prime factorize 1,200, and then I prime factorize 6,000, and this is what I got when I prime factorize 6,000. You'll realize that 2 is a common base, but you take the base with the lowest exponents. Since 2 has the same exponent for both. So I'll just take that 2 to the exponent of 4 as my as part of my highest common factor. 3, I will do the same thing. But when it comes to 5, 5 is common, but I will only take the 5 with the lowest exponent and make it part of my HCF, and my HCF here is 1,200. So I'm going to go to that 6,000 centimeters is to 1,200 centimeters and divide each of those by 1,200, which is my highest common factor, and that will give me 5 is to 1. Okay, I hope this is, I tried to make this a little bit easier, and I hope you understood it. Now let's check the classwork. Please note that for the classwork, you are required to write this in simplest form, okay? And in simplest form, it means you have to write it as a smallest number. Now I will start with number 1. I've got 4 is to 8. To write 4 is to 8 as the smallest number, I'm gonna do this for only for this one. For the next ones, I won't do it because by now you are supposed to know how to find the highest common factor. I prime factorized 4, it gave me 2 squared. I prime factorized 8, it gave me 2 cubed. 2 is a common base, but only the base with the lowest exponent will be my highest common factor, which is 2 squared, and that will give me 4. And then you divide everything by 4. You take the first part of the ratio, which is 4, you divide it by 4. Take the second part of the ratio, which is 8, you divide it by 4. And that will simply give you 1 is to 2. Check this out. What is your highest common factor there? The highest common factor there will just be 6. So you will take the first part divided by 6, the second part divided by 18. The second part, which is 18 divided by 6. So 6 divided by 6 and 18 divided by the highest common factor, which is 6. And that will give you 1 is to 3. What is the highest common factor of these? Remember how to find the highest common factor. You prime factorize 36, prime factorize 180, prime factorize 504. And then you look for the common base and only the base with the lowest, only a common base with the lowest exponent will be part of your HCF, and you just multiply them out, and that will be 2 squared times 3 squared, and 2 squared times 3 squared, that will be 36. So you will take all the parts and divide them by 36, and that will be 1:5:14. Please try this classwork. It's from Mindborn, page 25, Mindborn textbook, page 25, on exercise 1.1, 1.11.